So I wanted this presentation to be called The Impact of Police Body-worn Cameras on Officers' Public Trust and Investigations, but it wouldn't really fit on the header there, so just pretend it does. In this presentation, I'm going to be talking about my research question, what the evidence shows, and what recommendations I'm making for criminal justice policy. So let's head to the introduction. My research asks the question, do body-worn cameras actually improve policing outcomes? And to be a little bit more specific, do they actually improve officer behavior, increase public trust, and help with investigations? My goal is to explore real-world studies, not just opinions or theory, to see how the body worn cameras are actually working in practice and what policies might improve their impact. I focused on actual police departments that are already using BWC's body worn cameras. Body worn cameras were introduced more than 10 years ago in the United States now. I believe it was around 2014. That's what my research has been saying. They became widely adopted after many high publicized cases involving police use of force. Many departments and lawmakers hoped that BWCs would increase transparency, protect officers, and help restore public trust. In 2014, the federal government finally began offering grant funding to help agencies purchase these BWCs, and their usage increased sharply after. So let's head down to the methodology section. To guide my research, I use a clear and focused methodology. I search through EBSCOhost and Google Scholars using those search terms you see below. I only use peer-reviewed studies from 2015 and beyond, and I focus only on research based on real world data. Sorry. I did include studies that were just theoretical or hypothetical, and it helps me make sure that they were grounded in actual evidence from departments using the cameras today. Heading up to the literature review section, the existing research on body-worn cameras covers several important areas. Most studies explore how cameras affect officer behavior, public trust, and their role in investigation. Overall, the research showed me that body-worn cameras can oftentimes lead to fewer use of force incidents and fewer complaints filed against officers. However, the results can vary. That was very pronounced in my research. The effectiveness of cameras often depends on how they are being used and how consistently officers are with activation and whether the footage is handled properly. Public trust tends to increase when footage is shared transparently and policies are clear. In terms of investigations, camera footages can provide strong visual evidence that supports both accountability and fairness in court. But still, researchers did stress that the cameras alone are not enough. There has to be strong policy and supervision that will help the body cameras work as they are intended to. So putting all this together, I found that BWCs are effective, but again, only under the right conditions. They reduce force and complaints when officers know they are being recorded. They can build trust with the public, especially when departments share their footage transparently. They also help investigators and prosecutors by capturing clear evidence, which can protect both officers and civilians. But there's some major issues, again, as I stated before. Inconsistent activation. Cameras are only used in 40% of calls, mainly because officers are allowed to decide when to turn them on and off. This can weaken the whole system and has shown to weaken the whole system. That's why my policy recommendation is to require officers to activate cameras during every public interaction. This should be backed by national standards, so it should be everywhere. Funding for storage and training and clear consequences when the policy isn't followed should also be implemented. So heading over to the two charts I have, as you can see, the top one is from my one of my sources that I got, and it shows a clear drop in use of force incidents after BWCs were introduced, dropping from 60 incidents to 30 incidents. So this chart can help show that the cameras can directly affect officer behavior. And the second one, which is lower, this shows that about 40% of studies saw increased public trust, while others had no change or mixed effects. That shows that trust is possible, but it kind of depends on the policy and transparency, like I've been previously talking about. So, in conclusion, body worn cameras are a helpful tool, but they are not a solution by themselves. Their success depends a lot on policy, training, and accountability. Officers need to be required to use them consistently. If used properly, BWCs can build trust, reduce conflict, and support fair investigations. But if the policies are weak or ignored, then the cameras don't accomplish much. For the criminal justice system to benefit as a whole, we need national standards, also consistent enforcement and public communication. Further research should look at into the long-term effects of trust and how footage is perceived across the different communities. Uh, so that is going to be my presentation, and if I can figure out how to stop it, I will say thank you for listening, Professor Perman.